This is the Halftime Show with Umar Adouri on Pulse 95.
It sure is that time. It's the Halftime Show with Umar Adouri. I'm your host, covering everything sport, international and local. Man, it feels like ages since I've seen you guys, and I'm so happy to be back in the studio live on Pulse 95 Radio. Plenty to talk about today, so let's get straight into it. On the show today, now, Gary Neville and Jamie Carager were going through this debate, which I shared on my Instagram to see what the listeners and followers were thinking. It was about, yes, Lionel Messi versus Cristiano Ronaldo, except in context, it was very, very different. Here's how it went. If you could bring on one player to change the scope of the game to win you the game, who would it be? Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo? Text us on 4215 Itasalat or slide into my DMs throughout the show, because we're going to be discussing about the importance and also the craze that's happening between these two. Now, that's one thing. The health and fitness segment is a huge hit on the show, and normally we like to, get all your feedback and your questions and throw it into a segment. How important is accountability in achieving your health and fitness goals? Do you cut corners? Do you turn a blind eye on certain things? Too many excuses to hide behind? You see where I'm getting at? We're going to be talking about that today. And hey, listen, I'm the first one to admit to my mistakes. Now, not only that, we're also looking at the UAE sports scene as well on the only place to be at 3, the Halftime Show on Pulse 95.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Adouri on Pulse 95.
Sure is that time. It's the Halftime Show with Omar Adouri. I'm your host, covering everything sport, international, local. Thank you very much for tuning in and connecting with me today on the Halftime Show in the heart of Sharjah on Pulse 95 Radio. Okay, right. So the other day I posted a poll based on two of the biggest pundits in the UK, Gary Neville and Jamie Carager. Now, here's what the argument was. My whole thing on this take, and the reason why I wanted to get your interaction on this one and your opinions on this one, is because it's very easy to say which one, but not many people give a reason why. So here's the scenario. Cristiano Ronaldo versus Lionel Messi has been a debate we have been talking over the last decade. Unfortunately, we don't spend that much time actually appreciating the two, and we're actually here to watch them live in person. But despite there being a 2-year age gap, there's always been this comparison as who is the greatest. Now, Gary Neville set something out and said, if I could bring one person on to save the game and win it for me, I would bring on Cristiano Ronaldo. He is the greatest. And he stated his arguments why. Jamie Carager disagreed and said, no, Cristiano is never the greatest. Lionel Messi is the greatest because ABC. So I thought I would bring this towards you because there's been this Cristiano craze since he returned back to the Premier League. And obviously, in context, having a look at the narrative, the fact that Cristiano has participated in several leagues and not just one or two, and has been a champion in most of them, top scorers, records, you name it. Now, we all know that there's a 2-year gap between Cristiano and Messi, so we can't really be talking about how they are now because we don't know what Messi will be like in 2 years' time. However, due to the ambition that Cristiano has showed in many different leagues, a lot of people are arguing that Cristiano is the man. United fans probably agree with that, and we'll talk about that result later. But who do you think would come on, under that context, would come on and change the game? If you could have one person to get you the winner, who would it be? Now, Cristiano Ronaldo was touted by Gary Neville because he said, in terms of power, in terms of precision, that's your guy. Jamie Carager disagreed and said the reason why he would go with Messi was because Messi can create goals, score goals from anywhere. And so this is where I went back and forward. And I kind of thought about this and thought, wow, okay, I don't really like comparing the two, but who would I pick? Who would you guys pick? That was kind of my idea. Now, with all that in mind and the different types of personalities and the fact that now Cristiano Ronaldo is playing in probably the strongest league in the world and has been for the last 5 years, in the Premier League for Manchester United, could have been Manchester City, it isn't. More of a challenge for Manchester United, but if he does win the league with Manchester, does that make him the greatest ever? And then, the fact that last year, Lionel Messi was supposed to join Manchester City and join from Barcelona, and he didn't because he said he wanted to stay and etc., that changed things around. This year, he did leave Barcelona but went to PSG and Ligue 1 in France, so therefore it was a very different thing. So it's hard to measure Lionel Messi's goals in France versus Cristiano Ronaldo's goals in the Premier League because they're very, very different leagues. And people might say it's based on championships. Now, here's another thing that will add to that. Regarding championships, now football is a team game. when you get all these individual accolades, what happens then is we end up almost falling victim of having to pick someone who is the best player, despite there being a team behind him. But saying that, when this program, Monday Night Football, for those that don't know, on Sky Sports in the UK was on, it's quite a popular show. Gary Lineker from BBC One noticed a glitch in the graphics when they were putting it up, and it said that Lionel Messi had won 3 Champions Leagues and not 4, and no major trophies for the international teams. Gary Lineker tweeted and said, "You guys have it wrong, because Lionel Messi has won the Copa America with Argentina recently and has won 4 and not 3 Champions Leagues." It went back and forward on Instagram, on Twitter, and you had these 2 pundits from 2 different, let's say, broadcasts arguing. Now, we love an argument. I mean, we don't like arguing, but we love to actually listen and see what's going on. And when people are actually into it, it actually causes a stir. So it becomes like a tennis match. You look that way, you look this way, you look that way, you look this way. And people are actually jumping back and forward at each other. Now, I don't agree with that, because personally, if someone else did something on a different radio show, I wouldn't call them out on it. Not publicly anyway. There's kind of like the ethics side of things or the moral side of things. I wouldn't really do that. Then it got personal. So for those that don't know, we started off about Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, and then it became about Gary Lineker and Jamie Carager, and they were going at it non-stop. Then it became about, oh, well, if you had auto cue, then it wouldn't be a problem. And the other person said, well, no, actually, we don't have auto cue. We do things fresh, but if you want to come here and do it our way, you're most welcome. Oh, it was interesting. Let's just put it that way. It was very, very interesting. I thought that was good. But then it shied away from the whole point that what is going on here? We were supposed to be talking about these 2 players. So my question to you is, if you could bring on any player between these 2 to win you the game, would it be Cristiano Ronaldo? Would it be Lionel Messi? 4215 with the Salat or slide into my DMs at Omar Dur on Instagram and let me know. In the meantime, I have the health and fitness segment coming up next, which, by the way, you're going to want to stick around for. On the only place to be at 3, the halftime show on Pulse 95.
This is the halftime show with Omar Al Duri on Pulse 95.
It sure is that time. It's the halftime show with Omar Duri. I'm your host, covering everything sport, international and local. Thank you very much for tuning in, and shout out to everyone who's listening around the world, whether it's 95 FM, pulse95radio.com, our app, Sharjah Broadcasting Authority, or if you're chilling at home watching us live on YouTube. It's nice to be back in the studio. You know, Mustafa messaged me and said, Omar, man, it's different when you're not in the studio. I know, and I love being here. I love being surrounded by all these people as well. It's great. But sometimes we have these international interviews where we do it on Zoom. So that's why I wasn't in the studio. But now that I'm here and we're making it happen, it feels good to be back. And the question of the day that I was asking you guys after the first segment was, if you had to bring on one person to win you the game, and there was 2 options based on an argument that was on Monday Night Football the other day, which was Gary Neville versus Jamie Carager. They were saying one person would bring on Cristiano Ronaldo and one person would bring on Messi. Who would you bring on? Now, the question's been thrown at me by our very own Rashid as well, who's an avid listener on the halftime show. I'll tell you what, if I'm being very, very honest, I think when it comes down to those 2, it's really hard to compare. Now, I'm not sitting on the fence here, but if I could put them both at the same age, it's a no-brainer. Okay, if they were both 34, no brainer at all. Because Cristiano's 2 years older and still doing it now, I have to say, merely for personality and character on top of the ability, I might just edge with Cristiano, because if he keeps this up, the leadership and the stories that are coming out of not just him as an individual, but what he does to his teammates and how he switches up their recovery. There were stories of him being at Real Madrid and arriving at 3 a.m. after a Champions League game and taking Pepe and Coentrao to the ice bath straight away. And they landed at 3 a.m. and it was after a Champions League game. And these are internationals who look up to Ronaldo despite being the same age, etc., etc. Stories of that, stories of nutrition now being at Manchester United. Cristiano Ronaldo actually saying, you know what the whole team waiting to see if he's going to have dessert. These are all factors that I have to say when it comes down to coaching players. Now, I've had the honor of coaching a lot of different footballers from different backgrounds, different mentalities, different attitudes. And what happens when I see these players is I actually end up thinking, sometimes I leave them to do their own thing, see what kind of character comes out, what kind of personality comes out. And after I see that, I straight away think, you know what? Fantastic. That's what I wanted out of this person. Even if they've given me the last drop of sweat or blood, whatever it is, I've seen it. That's it. It's locked in now. I know what kind of character that person is. So when I see people like Cristiano Ronaldo, when I see people like Leo Messi, I don't like comparing the two. But the argument in this situation was between Gary Neville and Jamie Carager was, who would you bring on to save you the game, to win the game for you? And I have to say, the arguments were close. My Instagram might have more Cristiano fans than Messi because it was very close. 56% said Cristiano Ronaldo. So it was very, very close. But I'm sure the Messi fans would have added more onto that if they'd seen it. But then again, it's not up to me. It's up to you guys. So that's what I was looking at. And I was thinking, wow, we're still having these talks nowadays. And looking at the way sport is now, the return of the fans, players representing themselves, you know, a lot of talk in social media going on, a lot of campaigns going on, initiatives going on, from Black Lives Matter to all sorts of stuff, equality, all these things. Football is really now adapting to all the different pressures that are coming with it. So that's just my take on it, but you let me know what you think. Now, coming up next, I promise you guys, and by the way, Jason and Davis and Mustafa, I want you for this next segment, because the segment is the health and fitness segment. I'm going to be asking, how important is accountability in achieving your health and fitness goals? There's too many corners to cut and too many excuses within our own brain that it plays on us. Let me know your thoughts and I'll be right back after this to answer them. Here we go.
This is the Halftime Show with Umar Adouri on Pulse 95.
It sure is that time. It's the Halftime Show with Omar Duri. I'm your host, covering everything sport, international, local. Thank you very much for everyone who is tuned in on the Instagram Live at Omar Duri, is keeping me company. And also to everyone who's listening on 95 FM, pulse95radio.com, or even our app, Sharjah Broadcasting Authority. Right, okay, so if you're missing the show and you're kicking yourself for actually tuning in quite late, Mo, Yunus and Zaid, I see you jumping in. Don't worry, catch up all of our shows on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud if you prefer a podcast, or if you want a visual, thanks to Super Mario and Gabby, head over to the YouTube channel, type in Pulse 95 Radio, and we are there. Right, in the health and fitness segment of the day, you might want to be interested in locking your ears onto this one, because this one's a pretty close one for me. When it comes down to your own personal goals in health and fitness, let me put this in context for you. When we grow up and we're in school, you know, we have someone monitoring us and we have someone that, you know, helps us improve. You got teachers, you got headmasters. They're always there to tell you if it's right or if it's wrong. There's really no place to hide, because if they give you homework, you bring back the homework and all of a sudden they can kind of mark you and help you improve. As we get older, in our health and fitness goals, the sense of accountability sometimes can go out the window, whether it's through our work pressures, our family pressures, whatever it is, we can sometimes appear to hide. How many of us have been guilty of that? I'll put my hand up right now and say I've been one of those people, because if you spend most of your time coaching and helping others, sometimes you forget to coach yourself. Now, how important is accountability in achieving your health and fitness goals? And be honest with yourself, have you stepped away from staying on track? That's something in the health and fitness segment that a lot of us sometimes can hide behind, whether it's social, whether it's through work, whether you're just very, very busy. How many of us have turned around and said, just don't have any time? Except even though you want to be doing something, you want to be achieving something, you don't actually quite get to it because not enough hours in the day is what you've heard a lot about. But at the same time, the idea of holding yourself accountable by actually getting a coach or by getting someone that can help you. Now, this doesn't have to be a coach, could be a family member, could be a friend, could be someone that's just going to basically hold you accountable for the actions you want to put forward. Now, this is where a lot of the times we kind of fall back on. If you spend most of your time coaching, teaching, managing, leading, who's going to check up on you, who's going to be that person that's going to be able to hold you accountable, especially when you kind of need to know that you're on a downslope. Now, I went to see someone early today who, to be fair, is one of the best doctors I've seen out there, except not a normal doctor, a homeopathic doctor. And he's someone that has always been a go-to, for example, when things haven't been the way they should be. My point is that when you actually let your ego down and you actually don't worry about asking for help, that's when you actually are more likely to see change, to feel change, to be able to be a better person. So those people around you, in your social crowds, in your family, in your household, in your workspace, will get a better version of you. So the whole idea for me looking at that moving forward is I had to accept that there was a problem and I had to identify what is the problem. By identifying what the problem is, then I'm able to actually excel in that and be a little bit selfish. If you're like me, sometimes you think of your family first, or actually most of the time you think of your family first and then you. Now, to some extent, that's 100% correct and valid and justified, except if your health is at risk because of it and all the pressures from it, sometimes you just have to be selfish. And your family will be supportive if you're honest enough to say when things aren't okay. So for the health and fitness segment today, my question is for you guys: how important is accountability in achieving your health and fitness goals? 4215 at the Salat Urdu, or slide up into my DMs at Omar Duri and let me know. It's a great segment. It's going to need your intake. Here we go.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
Yes, we are back and we are live on Pulse 95 in the heart of Sharjah. Thank you very much for connecting with us. I just met Mario's brother Luigi. That was amazing, man. Look at those two guys out there. Hey, what's going on? Yeah, they're going to be doing some behind the scenes stuff with us later on. Shout out to RBO as well. We're going to be there, and we have a special guest who hopefully will be on the show very, very soon. So we're giving you a little hint of what's going to happen later on. But if you're just tuning in today and you've missed the show, you can catch all of our podcasts on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, or if you prefer a visual, head over to the YouTube channel. Support, share, like, and love, and all that kind of good stuff on Pulse 95 Radio. Okay, right. So, couple of things we were talking about today. The first segment, we spoke about this debate that was on Monday Night Football on Sky Sports. Now, for those that don't know, Gary Neville and Jamie Carager are very, very popular in the game, and they had this debate: if you could bring one person on to change the game, who would it be? Gary Neville sided with Cristiano Ronaldo, Jamie Carager sided with Messi, and they stated why. You've had your comments in. A lot of the people actually here on the Instagram Live have said, Cristiano, I haven't had one Messi. So I'm kind of surprised with that. Is that because maybe we've just got United fans on today? And speaking of United, see the way I did that? Do you like the way I did that? United were brought back down to ground level yesterday with a very, very unfortunate result against Young Boys in the Champions League first game. The news has been out today, and here's where you might be surprised that I'm not using this as a chance to dig United, was that they were blaming the manager for not making the right substitutions, not managing the game properly, not dealing with things right. The red card by Wan-Bissaka cannot be controlled by Solskjaer. It was a miscontrol by him and a step over the top. Did he deserve to go? Absolutely, it was a red card. From that point, he had to make substitutions. He took off Jadon Sancho later on. He brought on Varane. He took off Ronaldo, etc. The unlucky part as well is he brought on Lingard for Ronaldo, and Lingard gave away the ball in the last minute, and therefore Young Boys scored. These things cannot be meditated by the coach. As much as the coach takes responsibility, and you're probably going to say, yeah, Omar, that's because you're a coach. As much as the coach takes responsibility, you can't reenact a red card for one challenge and a through ball pass back from a substitute in another challenge. Saying that as well, we questioned if Solskjaer had the personality to take off Cristiano Ronaldo. And actually yesterday he ticked off that box. 36-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo is not 24-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo, where he can play 90-minute games back to back. And facing Young Boys, yes, you shouldn't underestimate them, but at the same time, it is something that you could probably look at and say, we need legs. Cristiano's not going to press from the front. Let's bring on a player that can. Now, here's where it could have been a bit more bold in bringing on Martial instead of Lingard. Fine. But you can't blame the coach for that. This is what I'm trying to say to you here. It's very easy to use players or coaches as scapegoats when things don't go right. In hindsight, everyone can have an opinion and everyone can say exactly what's going on. This is an absolute chance for me to destroy Manchester United because I've had a lot of Manchester United fans that said they're going to win the treble. However, Spicy will be happy with me saying this is the fact that in this situation here, away to Young Boys on an AstroTurf pitch for the first game of the Champions League, it's not ideal that you would have lost it. However, I don't think it was the manager's fault. But you let me know and slide into my DMs because we're coming up to the Adhan prayer now, obviously. Loved having you guys on. It's been incredible. We have reached full-time on the halftime show. But remember, you can catch all of our episodes on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud. Or if you're very visual, head over to the YouTube channel and type in Pulse 95 Radio and let us know what you think. At the moment now, we are coming up to the prayer time, so I'm going to have to farewell to you guys. But there's plenty more coming up next with the Afternoon Crack with Aisha Al-Mazmi and Mick Atay, who's away actually at the moment now. Sending you peace and love, guys. I'm out. Peace and love. Blessings. I'll see you soon.
If you liked this episode of The Halftime Show, drop a like and subscribe.
95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.